it's an honour to kind of to work with a book like this. I think it's just such a rare survival for a book like this to kind of still be around in this kind of condition. When we look at manuscripts like this, the first thing we have to really focus on is carrying out a detailed survey. This is done because it's the only chance we get at this stage to look at the book in real detail and decide, you know, what it's made of, what the characteristics of it are, how it's sewn together, what the materials are that are used. And these can all help and inform the historian and book conservator later. The book I've got is a 13th century French manuscript. I should say the book's a 13th century a late 13th century manuscript, but the binding and everything you can see here is a later English binding. The shaped boards, which are made out of oak, are characteristic of more 15th century, so early 15th century binding style. Also the way the clasp, the straps are attached on the front board means that we know that it's not probably made on the continent. So at some point way back in history this book has been rebound. It's a linen thread running all along through the sections. I should say that there's 10 sections of folded skin are folded up out of 5 bifolios, so 5 sheets folded together. So 10 of those are then sewn together all along onto these alum-tawed pieces of skin. The cover is also made of alum-tawed skin, and alum-tawed skin is quite different to tawed leather, the dark brown that you get on shoes and a lot of books too. It's produced by using aluminium salts, which is just totally different to tanned leather, and it's a lot stronger. Particularly on the sewing supports, it kind of gives a very strong thong to sew onto. The sewing runs all the way back and forth at each end through the 6 of the bands, double cord bands, and at each end it turns at the kettle stitch and goes back again. Once all the text block of the book is sewn, the straps are laced into the oak boards and pegged in place, and there's little gullies or channels carved into the oak for the bands to sit in, and then they're pegged with a wooden peg to hold them tight. Then they're covered with this alum-tawed skin. And the reason why I've got the 2 straps with clasps on are so that they come around the board and tighten onto a pin at the back. The pins on the original book have actually been lost, but the oak boards really firmly hold the leaves together. What's happened with the straps though over time is they've distorted and changed shape and shrunk slightly. So even if the pins were still in the back board, they wouldn't actually come round and attach. I'll just open it now. I'm opening it from the back because the straps at the front make it slightly awkward to hold. Well, I should say actually that the red pigment on the straps, we're fairly sure it's called kermes, which is from a beetle. It creates this nice red colour. In the medieval period, like today, they recycle a lot of materials. So this is an old piece of, I think it's 14th century musical manuscript waste that's no longer been required. So rather than throw it away, the skin's just been used as a paste down, which kind of adds to the structural strength of the book. Modern books obviously are made out of paper usually. Paper's complicated enough, but with medieval books they tend to be made out of skin or parchment or vellum. Vellum is the word used for calf skin. Parchment's more of an overall name for lots of different animals. In this case we think hair sheep. That's identified by looking quite closely at the hair follicles in the skin. It's not a particularly good quality skin, it's quite thin. It's been sewn together where there's been a tear. It was done before the book was written, and what it means is that they've got the skin and it had these imperfections, probably a hole where there was a hole in the skin, which has then had some kind of problem. And rather than just throw away that skin, they'll have just sewn it up and tried to make do the best they can with it. You can tell that it was like that at the time because the words go around the hole in the skin. So The other reason why we know that this is rebound from originally in the 13th century and rebound in probably the early 15th century is that there are repairs already carried out to a lot of the leaves throughout the book, which are in the spine of the book, so we know that they couldn't have been done later, they had to be done before it was sewn again. Like this is one here. This shows probably where the skin's been damaged through being damp or something, and the skin's just been taken around and pasted down to support that area, so that when the new thread goes through, it's supported. The inks on the paper are mostly this black ink, which is made using iron gall ink. Iron gall ink is made of oak apples that come off trees, which are a good source of tannin, and then mix with iron or sometimes copper, and then a whole variety of different things, and they're different recipes were used, so we're never quite sure what the recipe that's used, but it forms a very strong ink that doesn't tend to move. The red and the blue areas are vermilion for the red and azurite for the blue. You find them throughout on the initials and starts of paragraphs. How it kind of ended up in Wollaton is probably for somebody else to tell you, but I really look at it not so much from the content. I mean, obviously the Grail is a fantastic story, but I'm not a French speaker or a paleographer who can read it very easily, so I tend to kind of dwell more on the physicality of the book, and I kind of get excited by the structure of the sewing, because kind of in the medieval period these structures tended to be probably the best they ever were, and they've kind of gone downhill since then.